So I need to ask you then, why? What's the downside? There's obviously a reason that nobody is proposing a closed capital account. Nobody is proposing effectively tariffs on 10-year
On capital.
treasuries purchased by
Yeah.
the Chinese. Immediately, I was like, doesn't the U.S. need the Chinese to buy these treasuries? What occurs if we start penalizing them for that activity? Can you speak to that, Hugh?
Absolutely. So, first of all, right, it's not Chinese hedge funds who are buying treasuries. It is the People's Bank of China. It's the Communist Party central bank buying, right? So, what can we deduct from that? They they don't charge a performance fee. They're not interested in performance. Okay, they're not looking to make money on their treasury holdings. Just so happens they have. They made a lot of money. Okay, they are doing it for the greater social and economic need internally within China to create full employment and a robust and growing economy, which allows for their society to tolerate, which is to tolerate a very restrictive cultural and a social regime, the totalitarian. So they buy treasuries to maintain, if you will, the goodwill of the people to run a totalitarian regime. So I want to say to you, if you were to charge them a 3% sales tax, a capital levy on those purchases, they ain't going to go, oh, I'm not doing that, right? They're going to say, yeah, sure. Okay, because our number one objective is not to make money. Our number one objective as the Chinese Communist Party is to stay in permanent power and authority. So there's going to be no objection from them.
Quick break here, guys. Today's episode is brought to you by Coppernico Metals. Now, regular viewers of my channel will be familiar with the entrepreneur behind Coppernico. His name is Ivan Bebek. Now, although a young man in this business, Ivan's already created tremendous value for his shareholders in the past, namely with Caden Resources, which he sold to Agnico Eagle, and Keegan Resources, which became a mine now owned by Galliano Gold. Now, Ivan has surrounded himself with expertise from BHP, Newmont, and VRIC on his board at Coppernico Metals. Check out coppernicometals.com. Now back to the interview. Interesting. So you don't think that tariffs would de-incentivize the Chinese Communist Party from purchasing treasuries? So then again, what's the hesitation from the U.S. establishment?
Yes, indeed. That was the penny that had failed to drop in my slot machine. Why is it not happening? Because the big money doesn't want it to happen, right? Who are how much are both presidential candidates spending on their presidential campaign? I mean, it runs into hundreds of millions of dollars, yeah? And who are the people sending all of these hundreds of millions of dollars to the Democrats and the Republicans? Well, clearly, there are these new technology meme people, the richest people on earth. And Elon has been very vocal in his support for Trump. But there are countless Wall Street titans who contribute. Washington is run by money, right? And the big money is very much, what is the big money? Jay, you can get this. What is the big money like more than anything else?
Power?
Power, yeah. And when you've got power, you want more and more of it. So big money is very, very attracted by the status quo. Like, this regime has made big money big.
Inertia.
Yeah. Inertia is good. Like this. So what I'm kind of laboriously trying to display to you is that there is a monetary mechanism which begins in China, which is designed to undervalue their currency and gain an advantage in the export market, and that the greatest gravitational pull is US risk-free assets, the gravitational pull being the liquidity, the deep liquidity of the markets, the rule of contract law. Things get done. Yes, we all have gripes, but as a mature, open democracy with all of the asset rights, the US is the place, as is the UK, as is Australia and New Zealand, but these are of a smaller magnitude. But this is a mechanism which creates credit, and it's a credit. So people, I'm sure you must talk about M2 and money supply all the time with your guests, right? Whenever I hear anyone talk about M2, they do not know what they're talking about. They would never manage a macro hedge fund. As a matter of introduction, I ran a global macro hedge fund for 15 years. My remit was to be eclectic. My remit was to be obtuse, elliptical, or just to be totally unlike any other hedge fund. So I made money when everyone blew up. And when everyone was making money, which is like nine years out of 10, my challenge was not to blow up, like to come in flat. So I was like a free home insurance. Like if your house burns down, I pay you out. But in the meantime, I was kind of sending you maybe $2 or $3 back every year on the $100 of capital that you had at risk. So that was me. It's not M2. It is not the creation of dollars domestically by US banks receiving, when a bank receives a deposit is a liability. And so the bank needs an asset to invest, to keep its ledger system, to keep its solvency, to preserve its net interest margins. That's M2, right? But over the last 40 years, that has become dwarfed. It's become almost insignificant versus the dollar standard, and that's a treasury collateral system. So money on the edge today, money on the perpendicular, is created by huge international banks engaging with each other as counterparties. And so you're my counterparty, I'm a Japanese bank, and I go to you and I say, I have $1 billion equivalent of JGB treasury bills. How many dollars, if I park it with you, if I offer that as collateral, how many dollars would you extend to me in return? That's the euro dollar system. And for the last 20, 30 years, the answer to that question has been zero haircut, that you get the $1 billion transferred to you as you park the collateral of JGBs. So the Japanese bond market has been it's had its, people think it's crazy, and people have been trying to short it for many almost a generation of investors. But the one thing we can say is it's been remarkably robust, that those bond prices have been very risk-free, if you will. But that is when the bank, so the bank receives these JGB treasuries, and then you get a digital transfer of $1 billion, right? And then with that $1 billion, you then go to other banks and you say, I've got $1 billion of collateral. I want to short the Mexican peso and buy the dollar, or I want to buy Chinese property stocks, etc. This is the credit mechanism that has taken, on the Buffett ratio of US stock market capitalization to GDP. Like, we've never been here. It's the overvaluation territory of everything, 7 stocks reaching 60% of US GDP. The one-day trading volume in Nvidia is greater than the trading volume in the Nikkei stock market. This is where we are, and there's no politician, there's no big money asking or demanding that we put a tariff on capital, because as soon as we do that, we start to resolve the overvaluation of everything, which is to say stock prices would fall. It would be profoundly deflationary. We would have a very, very deep recession. And no, like, turkeys ain't voting for Thanksgiving. Yeah, but they should, because periodically, and it seems now with an increasing frequency of about 7 to 10 years, what do we get? We get nasty recessions. And nasty recessions are met by, if you will, further radicalization of monetary policy, which would be back to your monetary expansion. but nothing changes. So imagine a world where we're going to get another nasty recession. Why don't we bring it on? Why don't we burn down, the money temples? And why don't we make the richest people who are patrons for Republican and Democrat parties, and they don't care about the stock market, they don't care about the house prices, and they don't care about the price of gold, and they don't care about the price of Bitcoin. They only care about community and creating value-added activities in the United States. When is that going to happen? Yeah, unlikely, perhaps.